and welcome to the Dailies on Echo Television International, your news and current affairs program where we keep you updated with what is happening around Nigeria from our Nigerian newspaper. I am Sele Elisha Dashem. I'll be doing this together with Rachel Tanzi. Good morning.
Morning, Sele.
Right, we're live on Facebook and in YouTube. Please, you can do well to follow us live there by dropping your comment or your contribution of any of the story that is of interest to you. And we will be going straight into the paper. Daily Independent newspaper.
On Daily Independent, Senate urges federal government to halt proposed electricity tariff hike. IMF keeps Nigeria's economic growth forecast at 3.2%. You can start with the details on the front page and continue on page 4. The big story on the paper, lawyers criticize DSS rearrest of Emefiele despite court order. Say action frustrating, highest dent on Tinubu's government. As court to penalize DSS demand obedience to court orders, once again supplanting the rule of law and reject arbitrariness. You can find more details on page 29. Tinubu to send ministerial list to Senate before Friday. Teachers square up with Benue government over 27.5% allowance demotions. PDP says governor not prepared for governance. More details of that story can be found on page 7. And on looting claim, Oshemole apologizes to senators, insists offices were vandalized. You can find more details of that story on page 6. Alleged 1.35 naira fraud, appeal called free Sule Lamido's sons and others. Still on Daily Independent, we are not unifying foreign exchange. A statement coming from CBN says it is gradually withdrawing old naira notes, raises MPR to 18.75%. And at the downside of the paper, embattled Adamu Omisore meet Tinubu amid APC leadership crisis. And more details can be found on page 7, and that's all the news on Daily Independent.
And on Nigerian News Direct, Lagos to partner with Custom for port turnaround, retention of investors. You can find that story on page 3. The big story for the paper, Emefiele's woe persists as DSS rearrest suspended CBN governor, with the rider clashes with correctional service for custody. Court grant Emefiele bail and the while condemn arrest berate DSS DG. You can find more detail of that drama on page 2. And on Diaspora Day, my administration will prioritize engagement with Nigerians in diaspora, coming from the President Tinubu. EcoBank wins Euro Money Award as Africa's best bank for SMEs. We will secure future of Niger Delta beyond oil. This is coming from the NDDC MD. You can follow up that story inside the paper. Coming from Ogun State, gunmen abduct ex-provost and driver. You can find that story on page 2. We have the picture story where we have the governor of Lagos State. You can do well to find more detail of that story, and that's all on Nigerian News Direct.
On Nigerian Tribune, halt proposed electricity hike. Senate tells the federal government frowns on estimated billing. ASU loses as court affirms KONUA and AMDA as trade unions. I have no grudge against Olubadan, a statement coming from Ladoja. You can find more details on page 8. CBN raises interest rate to 18.75%. You can start with the details on the front page and continue on page 6. The big story on the paper, Emefiele knocks for DSS, prison officials over scuffle for custody. In the right of flowing the story, judge grants 20 million naira bail, DSS rearrest him. Falana Ogunye, Ezekwesili, Sore, and others react. You can find more details on page 2, and we have a picture story showing the CBN governor on his arrival in court, and also the officials of the DSS with the prison officers having disagreements. You can find more details of this story on page 2. And on flooding, Oyan Dam being closely monitored, a statement coming from NEMA. Extortion increasing along Lagos ports, access roads, NPA raises alarm. Protest in Erie Polytechnic over removal of rector. Angry senators push Oshiomhole to apologize over looting allegation. You can find more details on page 5, and that's all the news on Nigeria.
On the leadership newspaper concerning the UN summit, Nigeria gets $500 million to boost food security. Drama as DSS prison officials clash over Amifele's rearrest. You can find that story on page 10 as well. And trending, Adamu Omisore visit Tinubu in Aso Rock, Plateau to vaccinate 4.3 million cattle against anthrax. You can find that story on page 2. After leadership report, Benin Republic addresses multiple taxes on transit cargoes. You can find more of that story also on page 10. Ministerial list ready, Senate leader confirms. You can find out on page 10. The big story for the leadership saying Naira free float, manufacturers labor seeks CBN intervention, where the writer says economy lacks fundamental for policy. Naira hit 870 Naira per dollar. Apex Bank moved to tackle dollar shortage, raises the monetary policy rate to 18.75%. And here we can see the dollar exchange rate from 2019 to 2020-23, where we have official market rate and the parallel market rate. So you can do well to find the difference of all of that from 2019 to 2020-23. Resident doctors begin indefinite strike. You can find that story on page 17. Job racketing, reps give FCC chair 24-hour ultimatum. And we are having halt electricity tariff. Tell the executive. You can find that on page 6. Rachel, I would like us to have a little chat at this point in time. It's no longer news, the drama that took place between the DSS and the officers of the correctional center, and it's quite shameful and embarrassing for me. Reason why? Because we're talking about two different security agencies, different security body that is expected that they have their own what do we say, directive given to them on particular thing. Of course, we know the way proceedings are supposed to be. There are certain processes that lead to another. And it was expected that after the court, and just from the papers as we had, that he was being given a bill for 20 million naira. And then ideally, or however we say it, he's supposed to be possibly with the people of the correctional center before finally his papers and everything will be signed, and then he is free to go. But we tend to have the DSS wanting to have him back into their custody, and we've seen a lot of lawyers have come out to actually condemn that act, because this is really embarrassing. Just yesterday we saw in the papers talking about the book launch that the former president was present, talking about Nigeria unveiling the jewel of Africa. That was a book that was being, brought out by the former Minister of Trade and all of that. And then we're looking at how Nigeria can be portrayed as a country that when you see it, you will be proud of. Well, from like what the former president said, that we have embarrassed Nigeria, we have embarrassed Africa, we have embarrassed the black race, and we have really, really disappointed. We're even a disappointment to the world. And of course, are we saying that Nigeria has not done a lot of things that are uncalled for? No. But are we saying we are going to remain there? No. We have to grow, and issues like this shouldn't be what we should portray to the entire world. It seems to be we don't know what to do. And in a country where we have what is called rule of law, it's expected that you know what should be done. What did the law say concerning a particular issue at a point in time? So it's really very sad for me, but I hope that all of this thing will be rectified. We don't want to have a repeat of the same case coming up again on our paper. So I just hope that something really will be rectified concerning the issue of this rearrest, whatever the law say, because we tend to not respect the judicial system. Yes. Because that is just what I take out of this, that when the judiciary have given a go-ahead, we tend to trample on their right as if they do not even have the monopoly to do certain things. So I hope that we tend to respect that arm of government, because they are also a powerful arm, and when they have given a ruling, it should be respected. Let us not see somebody going against the law at the end of the day.
So the question is, why are we finding it difficult to follow the rule of law? Why are we finding it difficult to do as the judiciary has ruled? Why are we finding it difficult to do the things that are already been put in place, and we are doing the opposite? Because in no way, it doesn't make sense. Like, these are one of the situations that will happen that you can't wrap your head around it, because it doesn't make sense. It shouldn't even happen in the first place. And these are one of the things that you can tag only in Nigeria, because it's only here that you will see this kind of clash, and you wonder, where is it coming from? Okay, if the DSS did not want the court ruling, then they shouldn't have taken him to the court in the first place. But the moment you take him to the court, you're handing him over to the judiciary. It over to the law. Whatever the law rules, that's what stands. You're not supposed to go back with this person. You've taken them to court. It's like when the police make an arrest and you charge somebody with murder. When you take this person to the court and the court has given their ruling on this person, you've now handed this situation to the law system. You've handed it to the judiciary. At that moment, the police has no business with whatever the correctional system does with this person. You go back without that person, you leave it to the correctional system, and that's what should happen. But when you see something like that, you don't even understand. It's simple, Sele. It's common sense that it's not existing, because you know that. So why are we having this kind of embarrassing things on our paper? And it doesn't stop in Nigeria, because it is all over every other African country now. We are the giants of Africa. People want to know what is going on in our country. Just like when the 2023 election was coming, the whole world was waiting to see what will come out of Nigeria. It's the same thing now. Everybody keeps waiting to see what is the progress in our country, because all eyes are on us. And these are the kinds of things that will make it out there, seeing what shouldn't even be in place. So if you did hand him over to the judiciary, then you shouldn't even take him to court in the first place. You should have kept him, continue keeping him in your custody until you do what you want to do with him. But the moment you take him to court, you have handed him over to law, and what law says will happen to him, that's what will happen. So there shouldn't even be this clash in the first place. And this is now the situation. You begin to wonder a lot of things from day and night. It doesn't make sense, because it shouldn't even happen in the first place, but for some reason it happens. Now you start to wonder, are these people being bought? Who are you taking your directive from? The court says this, the DSS is doing this. It's so confusing, and you wonder what is happening in this country. So I'm honestly looking forward to a government and a Nigeria that really knows what they're doing, because this portrays us as lost and confused, as if we do not know what we're doing. If a common man should know what is expected, there's no how you can tell me that these people don't know what is expected. I am not a DSS officer. I am not a correctional officer, but I know what should be in place. Talk more of the people who are in this position. They know what is expected, but for some reason they do the opposite, and you can't just understand why. So I'm just looking forward to where things will work out well in this country, because this is embarrassing on so many levels. It shouldn't even happen in the first place.
Honestly, because I mean, the way the correctional center officer was being handled was really embarrassing and confusing, just like you said. But we look forward to this being rectified eventually. Let's not see a repeat of such things coming up. Well, and that's all on the Leadership newspaper.
On this day newspaper, CBN directs banks to lift restriction on 440 accounts. The Apex Bank resumes reinforcement of LDR policies and urges bank to comply. With subsidy gone, foreign exchange unified, MPC raises MPR to 18.75% to curb inflation. We have Shobi insists rate hike helping to moderate prices. Says the foreign exchange volatility driven by pent-up demand and low supply. Details on the front page and continue on page 10. Resident doctors commence indefinite strike nationwide. After ousting them, Tinubu meets Adamu Omisori at State House. U.S. Embassy anti-graft group urged president to unveil master plan for corruption. More details of the story can be found on page 10. The big story on this day newspaper, DSS disobeys court order, beats up correctional officer and re-arrest Emefiele. The writer under the story suspended CBN governor guilty and granted 20 million naira bail. Ezekwesili Huruwa blasts DSS over former Apex Bank governor's arraignment. More details of the big story can be found on page 10, and we have a picture story showing the correctional officer being manhandled by DSS. Article to tribunal don't encourage violation of our constitution. More details of that statement can be found on page 12, and that's all the news on this day newspaper.
Rachel, finally, resident doctors have commenced on it. Yesterday, we saw in the paper where the speaker had a meeting with them on Monday, actually, asking them on ways they can avert the strike from going on, because they will remember clearly they gave the government about 2 weeks ultimatum to come up with all that they need, some of their allowances, talking about salary from 2015 and all of that, things that was supposed to be given to them that it's not given to them. And these are the same resident doctors that have been leaving the shores of Nigeria, brain drain every now and then. Our nurses are following after, midwives are going. Yes. A lot of people are beginning to leave the shores of Nigeria. Before, we were having about 10,000 patients to a doctor. Right now, Richard, I don't know what the statistic will be anymore. Possibly it will be more than that. Maybe we'll not be having 20,000 patients to a doctor. And of course, we know these doctors are humans. They get tired and exhausted. But I just hope something will be done. It's sad. They already started definitely. So we don't know when they'll be calling off. So it wasn't bad enough that we had certain states that already had their doctors on strike, like so we had that Nasarawa, we had in Plateau State, and other states had their doctors on strike because of hazard allowances and other things. Right now we're having the entire doctors, resident doctors are leaving. So automatically our hospitals will be locked eventually. Teaching hospitals where you were having and it's quite sad, because I keep saying this. I don't know why is it that until we see a strike as a country before we take proactive measures. Why is it always that? Why can't we just see that the government or the people who are started with the responsibility will do the right thing? Do we always have to see a body threatening to go on strike or are already on strike before we do the right thing? We remember that of ASU. To what avail? Nothing. After 8 months, they had no pay. Nothing was being done. They had to go back because the court say, go back and teach. So I just hope that we will have a different narrative. The way things have been going over time, it has not been working. So what are we going to do? What is now the workable way out? Where things are not being done right, what can we now do differently? So I hope that the government won't just sit back. Of course, the speaker gave reasons and he said they will try to look into it. The fact that they're just coming into power, a lot of things need to be rectified and look into it, and they're trying to see what they can do. But it's obvious that meeting didn't yield anything because they're still going on strike. It is my desire, Richard, that we don't keep seeing important sectors like this. It breaks my heart because we're talking about the health sector, Richard, not any other. We're already having the issues of various illnesses. Last week, we saw in the paper about 10 patients in Kaduna found an unknown sickness. A lot of things are still not going well. So I just hope it's my desire actually be rectified. If there's a way we can stop these doctors, maybe before Monday, let's do something for them. Let them come back. Please, I just hope the government will look into that, and then we'll have a better way to rectify issues next time.
Sally, I honestly don't know which is more deadly, having fewer doctors to thousands of patients, or having brain drain doctors working on patients, or having them going on strike. It's difficult to know which one is more deadly, because when you have a brain drain doctor working on a patient, there are a lot of mistakes, misdiagnosis that can happen, and all of that could lead to a patient's death even before that. Now, are we talking about one doctor to 10,000 patients? By now, the numbers should be as higher than that. And which one is more? Because before the patient get to see the doctor, who knows how long, and would they have quality of service? And then is it them going on strike? Because now it means you don't even have the hospital facility. When you go there, you're probably just left with nurses and no doctors. And you wonder which is more deadly, because now, Sele, the challenge is that, okay, what if the government meets their demands and they come back on strike? There will still be short hands of doctors, which means even if they have more pay, more hazard allowance, there will still be brain drain, Sele, because we have doctors going. So it's really a difficult one, Sele, because the government is going to do, because even if they bring them back, increase their pay, we're looking at one doctor to 10,000 patients or more. It's still deadly, because we're now looking at people having low standard of healthcare services to them, because when will the doctor get to this town and all of that? So I don't know what the government plans on doing. It looks like a very tight situation, because it's not only about meeting their allowances or their demand, is also about having enough doctors to do the job. If not, they will still be brain drained. They might be out there forcing themselves, pushing it because their demand have been done, but we are going to be having low quality treatment. We're going to have patients that their wounds are not being treated rightly. We are going to have a lot of chaos even in our hospitals. So it's more about balancing it, Sele. They need to do what will make more doctors stay or bring them back. It's not all about meeting their demands, but we need more hands on deck, because even if they come back, we are not going to have enough hands out there. So it's just so much work. It's so much work. And I hope that the government is ready to do this much work, because this situation is a dangerous one on every level when you look at it. And I just hope that they do have a way out, a way forward, and that they are willing to do the work to see that things are becoming normal.
We look forward to that, Rachel, honestly. Let's take a look at what the Guardian newspaper have to say. CBN on new route to inflation control raises interest on banks' deposit. You can find that story on page 6. DSS clashes with NSOs, rearrest Emefiele despite the bill. You can find that on page 4 as well. 15,000 IVF babies delivered in 130 Nigerian clinics since 1989. You want to know more about that? Do well to find that story on page 4. Fruit ripening with chemicals partly responsible for ultimately death. NAFDAC have won, especially talking about pears, bananas, mangoes. That have been the thing. So I'm really happy that NAFDAC have come out to talk about it strongly. So we hope that this will go, especially to our fruit sellers that are fond of using chemicals to ripen their fruits. We hope that they will do more. And then NAFDAC need to intensify more, put more work. Let's have more of the officials around to inspect all of this things. It's not just about let's having people going to inspect the meat in the abattoir to body ill to all of that, but also when it comes to fruits, because these are basic things. Eventually we've seen cases where you see somebody who is in charge of selling the fruit is either using something different, and then you'll be shocked. So this is what I have been consuming all this while. So it's quite sad and threatening. So I hope NAFTA do more work on that.
And I just hope that they would bring out guidelines to help us also as individuals to, when I see a banana that didn't ripen the right way,
funny enough, Rachel, for banana you have an idea, because if you see a banana that was being forced to get ripe, there is a way that it doesn't really get so yellow. There's a way where you keep a fruit to be naturally ripe. You enjoy the banana from eating it. It has this sweet, nice taste. But a banana that is being forced is mostly green at the back, and then when you eat it, you wonder,
what is it tasting?
What really am I eating?
Exactly. So these are some of the things that should be out there for people, because it's sensitization, it's awareness. You need to open people's eyes to know that, okay, you know what, this pawpaw didn't ripe the right way. This banana, no. This whatever fruit it is, because I know it's not for all, but there are certain fruits that are being forced to ripe before their time, so that we will also be at the lookout, because one thing I know is for sure in this country, they will not go stall by stall of these food vendors. They are not going to do that. So I should also be empowered enough to be able to do the job for myself, because nobody will care for me better than I do.
Very true, Rachel, very true. And then we still have one more story on the Guardian newspaper. Senate defer ministerial list till Thursday, urges discourse to allow Nigerians breathe. You can find detail of that story on page 6, and that's all on the Guardian newspaper.
On Daily Sun newspaper, Imo Bayelsa Kogi polls, INEC wants the use of talks, harassment of election officials. The big story on the paper, Senate prepares for recess amid non-submission of ministers' list. The writer saying security agencies delay Tinubu with slow check on nominees. Senators prefer list with full security report. It will get to us in 48 hours. A statement coming from Bamidele, and we are looking forward to that. You can find more details on page 6. Still on Daily Sun newspaper, DSS prison officials in power tussle. This is on the Emefiele case. Fight over custody of ex-CBN governor, secret police triumph, rearrest former Apex Bank boss hours after court bail. You can find more details on page 4. Ijaw youth declare war on oil firms in Niger Delta over gas flaring. Kaduna records 68 suspected diphtheria cases and 8 deaths. The National Assembly bans discourse NERC from increasing electricity price estimated billing. You can find more details on page 8. Senate to rowdy session as a Shemala faces lawmakers' wrath. At the downside of the paper, CBN raises interest rate to 18.75%. You can find more details on page 2. We have a picture story of the DSS officials and the and the prison correctional officer. And then we have another one, Group CEO, X3M Ideas, Steve Babako, and Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu during X3M Ideas courtesy visit to the office of the governor in Lagos on Tuesday, July 25th of 2023 to celebrate X3M winning West Africa's and Nigeria's first award at the world-acclaimed Cannes Lagos Lion Advertising Festival in 70 years. And that's all the news on Daily Sun newspaper.
Right, let's take a look at the Punch. CBN vow to tackle forex pressure, raises the lending rate. You can find that story on page 17. This goes to return $1.2 billion for 374 projects, says the NDPHC. Threats to Kogi, Bayelsa, Imo poll disturbing. This is coming from INEC, and I hope that they testify. We don't want to have a repeat of what happened in Lagos and other parts of the country during the election that we had in about 23 states, and also the presidential election in every other state. It's quite a side one. So it's not just enough for INEC to have it on the paper. What are you planning to do about that? We don't want to have where talks are threatening people. If you are not voting for this party, get out of the place. We don't want to have a repeat of that. This is even smaller, just 3 states. So we hope that INEC will put in the work, not just being on the paper, but what are you planning to do about these threats? You've seen it already. So that means somebody somewhere is planning something shady. So we hope INEC will do their work on that. The big story on the Punch newspaper, Nigerians demand reforms as Tinubu submit ministerial list. The writer following that, technocrat says to dominate list, Tinubu sought prayers to make the right choice. Coming from the Senate leader, NBA tax appointees on security, APC leaders fumes over Jonathan's move to pick Bayelsa candidate. You can do well to find that story on page 2. And still on the issue of the former CBN governor Emefiele, lawyers condemn DSS, waters clash as family protests rearrest. You can find that story inside the paper. Resident doctors begin indefinite strike today. And also Lagos Okada riders accuse policemen of extortion. You can find that on page 4. Adamu Omisore meet Tinubu for reconciliation. This is coming from the APC chieftains. You can find that on page 12. And that's all on the Punch newspaper. But then before we move further, we're right for a break at this moment. So we'd love to hear what your thoughts are, what your contribution are concerning any of the story. When we come back from the break, please stay tuned with us.
Make your everyday informative, make your everyday count. Know your world, daily affairs, national and international, with authentic news events as they unfold on Global News and Zuma Nigeria, Monday to Friday at 1 p.m.
Welcome back. If you're just tuning in, it's still the Dailies on Echo Television International. We've been giving you a lot of story, juicy drama from that of the DSS and also the correctional center officers. We are also seeing that there have been an increase of the monetary policy rate. It is now 18.75%. So you know what that means for those who will be getting loan for commercial bank. It might be higher. So just keep your fingers crossed, and then whatever your questions are, you can do well to reach out, and then we'll really appreciate it when you turn down the volume of your TV set when you call us. Our number is displayed on your screen at this moment. I still have Rachel Tansy with me. Thanks so much, Rachel.
You're welcome, Sarah.
All right, let's take a look at the next paper.
On First News newspaper, APC crisis, Adamu Missouri visit Tinubu at Aso Villa. The big story on the paper, DSS prison officers in referral fight in court as Judge grants suspended CBN Governor 20 million naira bill. Secret police operative arrest rough handle Ikoyi prison boss during clash over ex-Apex Bank boss custody. DSS rearrest Emefiele weeks him away from court. Emefiele's younger brother condemns DSS and prison officers' fisticuffs. Tinubu will send us ministerial list within 48 hours. Coming leader. Atiku insists declaration of Tinubu as president illegal. APC elders vow to block Jonathan from nominating Tinubu's minister. CBN increases interest rate to 18.75%. UK court fines Indian lawyer £28 million in Ibori's corruption case. Senate orders NERC discuss to halt planned tariff hike. And that's all the news on First News newspaper.
On the Metrics newspaper, we have on border reopening. Nigeria, Benin Republic, harmonized import prohibition list. You can do well to find more details. Yes, sir. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Morning. Can't see. What's her name?
Rachel, sir.
The second.
Hello, sir. Okay. Go ahead, please.
You see my major problem. Nigeria every day we're full of, we act different kind of movies. Movies, I don't know what to say. Okay, this one, Emefiele, CBN, Emefiele and the police, I mean the DSS and the prison. Is it real? Is it good? It's not good. 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 They are really embarrassing Nigeria. But my major problem, Shah, is the health, our health. My major problem is our health, the doctors. Let's go back. Let's please the doctor. Let's come to compromise. Let's settle. Let's please them. If this doctor leave now, we don't have any doctor. Imagine you train your son in the school. You train your son in the school after, just think about it now. Your son from primary school to secondary school till the university, and your son graduated, you know how much it costs. I'm speechless. I don't know what to say. I don't know what this country is turning up to now. Just imagine that made drama yesterday. That one is drama now. He asked the police, the DSS, to arrest the CBN governor, and it's not fair. In short, please, Sele, I don't know what to say. May God help Nigeria. May God Almighty help Nigeria.
All right. Thank you so much, sir, for your contribution. Yeah. Thank you. All right, let's go ahead, please, Rachel.
Yes. We are on the Metrics newspaper, sir.
Still on First News, I guess.
Okay. Yes, no, the last story on the First News is the Senate orders NERC and discuss to hold planned tariff hike. And that's all the news on First News newspaper.
All right. We're looking at the Metrics newspaper before the call came in. Still on the Metrics newspaper, court dismisses as suit. All right. Hello, good morning.
Please go on, we can hear you.
It's about what is happening and the items of issues this morning. So, my area of comment is about the DSS, and the issue now is no more a news or a hidden issue that the DSS is becoming too more powerful, more than any other. The police, the army, and the whatever the paramilitaries or something like that. What do they want to achieve in the first place? Court have declared, granted this man bail, leave him to for them to perfect. He's supposed to be in the correctional custody, while the perfection of the bail is finished. They jump on him again. What type of character are we showing about? It doesn't mean in anywhere you find yourself in government you become God. You want to play God. You want to do anything by your own discretion. What type of human being are we portraying, or what type of species of human being are we portraying to our outside world, even to our unborn children? It's really pathetic. Do they have a director general at all? Did he watch what is happening? Where do they receive the directive? Is it from the presidency or their immediate director or director general? Please, we need sanity in this country. And the tense is becoming too higher and higher. The stake is no more low. We have a fuel subsidy removal there. We have a tariff there. We have all this, everything everywhere. And the drama is playing up and down. Please, can we have somebody to call some of all these our agencies to order, so that we can have a little peace? Poor man can just have, and let the people who say our leader, let them concentrate and do something. It's no more, we are even tired. Thank you, and God bless you,
Thank you so
people,
much,
my
sir,
dear
for your
sisters.
contribution.
I'm
Very
grateful
thoughtful of
for
you.
the opportunity given to me to talk.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, and God bless.
Thank
And have
you.
a very
All right, let's take a look at the Metrics newspaper still, where we have resident doctors embark on indefinite strike. You can start on the front page and continue inside the paper. Tinubu's ministerial list suspend as 48 hours deadline draws near, with the rider prays against any kind of influence. Tinubu canvasses Nigerians in diaspora support. You can find detail on page 2. Still on the Metrics newspaper, CBN revealed when the old Naira note will be phased out, so you can do well to read that so you don't fall victim to what happened during the cash crunch. Also, UK court orders Ibori lawyer to pay 28 million euro. You can find that on page 3. After first NBC meeting of press, Tinubu okay, I take that story. After the first NBC meeting of press,
Thank you very
Tinubu's
much.
reign, CBN
Yes,
raises.
I greet you all those ladies in that studio.
All right, thank you so
Thank you
much.
very
Morning,
much.
sir.
Good. Oh, my take this morning. You understand the unripe this thing that chemicalized. Well, I didn't blame those people. Sincerely, if you leave all those pawpaw or mango on the tree, you leave it for the bat. So it is better for men to have it than the bat. So the other one is, no one is above the law. All those people saying that they still arrest Imefele and stuff of a thing like that. Yes, if he's wrong, let them arrest him. And that is period. So please, let nobody complain any nonsense that the GSS is overdoing or stepping their boundary. Thank you very much. God bless you. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you
You're
so
welcome.
much. Sit on the metric. DSS re-arrest Emifede after tussle with prison officials. You can find on page 3. And Chibok Boko Haram escapee gets engaged to love in US. You can do well to find detail of that story. And that's all on the Metrics newspaper.
On the Nation newspaper, Atiku PDP confused president tells tribunal. NERC discuss fine-tune tariffs hike plan. Senators rep oppose move. Federal government will redirect $800 million palliative cash. ASU loses bid to stop Cornwall's registration. You can find more details on page 4. Federal government has raised $500 million for food sufficiency, says Shetima. Cash surge into economy forces interest rate hike. CBN raises it to 18.75%. Action will tame inflation. We have been seeing this interest rate going high, and for once it haven't tamed inflation. I don't know what makes it different this time around, but we will be waiting and seeing if truly it will be able to tame inflation. You can start with the details on the front page and continue on page 20. The big story on the Nation newspaper.
Like this. I don't know why this DSS has much power than every other paramilitaries. Why? Court will leave people and the sergeant. Then DSS will come and rearrest them. Why? It's a question, please. Can you answer me, please?
Well, okay.
This country is embarrassed. The court will declare somebody free, just as they declare Nnamdi Kanu free. And they went and rearrest him. They detain him on their power. Now, court has now take the CBN governor on bail. Then the DSS went and they arrested him. Why? Don't we have orders again? So we have to put this in order before the problem will arise more. Eh? We have leaders in this country. Let them discuss about these issues. Is DSS is there power more than the president? I can't understand. Is there power more than the president? Please, what I'm just saying, let the people that in control talk to these people so that there will be a normal circumstance in this country. Thank you very much and God bless you.
All right, thank you so much.
He asked the question if the DSS are above every other law enforcement agency, and the question is no. They are not above every law. Yes, everybody have their jurisdiction, where they function and what they should do. Where is your place? And I said it, the power of the DSS ends where they took Emefiele to court. They have handed him over to the judiciary, and after which is what they decided. Now, only the DSS can come out and give us reasons to why they acted that way, but no Nigerian can speak on their behalf because I don't know why they acted that way, because they are not supposed to do that in the first place.
Coming out
so
to clarify
yes, we hope to hear them saying why they acted that way, giving their reasons, and maybe Nigerians can reason with them. But as it stands now, those actions have embarrassed us as a country.
Of course, Rachel. Let's go ahead, please.
Still on the Nation newspaper, the big
comment
story.
that Nigeria don't spoil. Nigeria don't spoil. So our children that will get back to themselves, they will not be get anything again. This world is evil. All the big people they are there, they are evil. Why are they embarrassing that man that they released that man already? They are embarrassing that man again. Everybody is me. If they give me chance to see them, I will. That is my contribution.
All right, thank you so
God
much.
help Nigeria.
May God help Nigeria.
Thank you.
Still on the Nation newspaper, the big story from Ministers Tinubu mulls SAN and ex-governors, technocrats and others. And Senate leader president's list ready tomorrow. We are looking forward to that. Emefiele rearrested in court after interagency brawl. You can find more details on page 29. At the downside of the paper, Southeast battles erosion. Ladoja pledges loyalty to Olubadan in council. More details can be found on page 27, and that's all news on the Nation newspaper.
A new Telegraph newspaper, borrowers to pay more as CBN raises the lending rate to 18.75%. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
I want to talk about the Emefiele arrest.
Go ahead, please.
Some information. Morning, fella. I'd like to contribute about the rearrest of Emefiele. I think you need to be able to clarify some of us when we called to find out why he was rearrested. Based on the information that was gathered yesterday, is because he was charged on a different case when the court granted him bail. And let's not misunderstand, he has not been released yet. That's why the prison officials were dragging to take him back. and DSS are rearresting him for a different charge now, not the same charge that he was granted bail for. So I think you guys, Stella and Rachel, you have to go more into issues like this so that you can clarify some statements we make on national television. Thank you very much. Have a lovely day.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Still on New Telegraph. Let's go on with the paper. Still on New. All right, let's take the New Telegraph newspaper. Sorry, trying to get the paper kind of. All right, on New Telegraph paper where we were looking at, Rachel, can you help me take that paper,
All right,
please?
on New Telegraph, borrowers to pay more as CBN raises lending rate to 18.75%, modifies intervention in forex market,
Thank you.
all notes gradually being replaced.
I want to disagree with the last caller.
All right, sir, please feel
If you
free
are
to do
charging
that.
a message to court, it took them over 40 days in detention. Is 40 days or a week not enough for you to level all the charges against him and bring him to court? So the man that spoke last is like he was speaking from point of a security officer also. I don't bloody care about anything that I'm talking about. The law, we are having problem in our judicial system. And if democracy must survive, the police, the security agents and the judiciary, they must live up to expectation. The presidential elections or the presidential tribunal is on. We are all waiting to see the outcome. He said that bend or break in this country because we cannot take it. We cannot take it like that again. They have been toiling with the features of this country. I lament with the future of this generation. We have lived our own, but the ones coming, what is their future? Now that they have mortgaged everything in the country, and they are saying let the poor breathe, or what are they saying? Who are the poor that is breathing? Is it not the rich ones that are breathing today? Sometimes they bring out one slogan to impoverish people. It's not the best. So the judiciary, the police, the security, they must live up to expectations and save us this show of shame that they have positioned all over the world. It's a shame for this nation, for certain things that are not supposed to be happening to happen in this country. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that contribution.
All right, let's go ahead, Rachel.
Yes, still on New Telegraph newspaper, IMF retains Nigeria's 2023 growth forecast at 3.2%. More details can be found on page 7. Remain in PDP, stop meddling in APC's affair, party elders advise Jonathan. Governors fight and predecessors on resumption of office coming from Akpabio, Adamu Missouri mom after closed door. ACF worried over socio-economic challenges facing the North. More details can be found on page 3 and 5. The big story on New Telegraph, drama as DSS prison officials tussle over MFLA's custody. Ex-CBN governor pleads not guilty to firearm charges, gets 20 million naira bail. DSS disregard for court order threatens rule of law. A statement coming from lawyers. More details can be found on page 2. UNICEF laments high poverty rate in Nigeria. For subsidy removal, FX unification hike pot of jollof rice cost in Nigeria by 13.7%, a report. Fuel price rose by 210% in 1 year. Statement coming from the National Bureau of Statistics. More details can be found on page 7. My abductors flogged me with machete, a woman recalls ordeal, and you can find more details on page 30. Stop electricity tariff increase now. Senate tells the federal government as reps bar discuss from estimated billing and extortion of customers. Power of incumbency, thuggery undermining electoral process. A statement coming from INEC. IPAC to judiciary based judgment on law, not technicalities. Tinubu's declaration as president illegal. Atiku tells the tribunal. More details you can find on page 2 and 4. At the downside of the paper, we have a study, air pollution particles pose risks to insect populations. You can find more details on page 7, and that's all the news on New Telegraph newspaper.
All right, let's round it up with the Daily Times newspaper. Huge role in Senate over Shumele's looting interview. You can find detail of the story on the front page and continue inside the paper. Despite Bill Emifele re-arrested by DSS. You can read more of that. Lawyers allege Ogun SSG multi-million naira deals petitioners EFCC ICPC. You do well to find more detail of that story. Federal government earmarks $500 million to transform food system. And the last story, CBN raises benchmark interest rate to 18.75%. You can find that story on page 9. And that's all the daily times and also how far we can go on the program this morning. Thanks so much, Rachel, for doing this with me. Thank you to all our callers who call in to contribute positively and also to give us a very good analysis of some of the stories and their own contribution in it. Thank you to our crew members, our producer, and the general manager. Until we come here again, do have a blessed day ahead.